This thing on. There we go.
Yeah, it is. It's live. We're live. We're doing it live. Man, this camera is like angle stinks. You can't even catch my cool shirt. My
I
cool
haven't
Twilight shirt. Just drumming us in. Just drumming us in. Other shows have like intro music, and this is what we've got. It's just this. It says all the time. Are we good? Can we start the show about role playing crap? I'm James.
I'm Cooper.
It's Living for Crits Sunday Shadowdark show. And we're talking GM prep tonight. The thing that Cooper doesn't know a dang thing about.
Yep.
Because you don't. You have no. Your contributions tonight are going to be just you drinking a Snapple next to me, dressed up like Marty McFly. This was Cooper's Ren Fair costume, by the way. It was what? Halloween day or costume day? What did they call this at the Ren Fair today? What was this?
I mean, it's kind of just you go to the. I mean, everyone goes to Ren Fair.
Yes. No one ever goes to the Ren Fair like Marty McFly.
No, but they go there.
It's
like in costume.
Mostly not Marty McFly.
Yeah, but they go there in costumes. So.
Yeah, different kind of fest. Okay, so chat's open. If you're here, you want to hang out. Oh yeah, Cooper can post the email address. Where's your phone? Post the email address in the chat. That's right. He can do that.
Make sure that you
It's that kid in the Marines.
Why is this YouTube video up?
I don't know. All right, chat's open. Chat with us.
Make sure to pin this
pretty good, Ryan.
Post it.
It is a life preserver. It's a Ralph Lauren though thing. What's up, Baron Grimm? All right, so Tales from the Table. Last night we completed Crypt the Devil Lich. We're done. It took us 5 sessions, six sessions, to get through Crypt the Devil Lich, and I did chop a lot out of that adventure. I chopped it down for a few reasons. First off, to make it less how can I say this? Less lethal for Shadowdark characters that maybe the players have some connection to. And the other reason, and I know that sounds terrible, I'm taking a Shadowdark game and making it less lethal. I didn't want the. It's a tournament adventure. So Crypt of the Devil Lich for DCC is a tournament adventure. It is designed to winnow the players down over many groups playing through it, so that by the time 1 or 2 groups get to the end, they win the tournament. And we were playing it in campaign mode. That said, I had to start ratcheting up the difficulty towards the end because they had an item that kind of broke several of the rooms. No spoilers in Crypt of the Devil Lich, but if you've given your party the flying carpet from Shadowdark, it makes big swaths of that adventure very easy.
We beat the final boss really, really easily.
You beat it the same way that I beat Skyrim this week.
By taking a magic hole and
by essentially that's a hole in the wall. Don't worry about it.
Why is there a hole in the wall?
Because I was going to hang something there. And there's a stud, so I couldn't hang anything there. So I'll have to put something else there. Like don't worry about that.
That annoys me now.
Yeah, well, good luck. Enjoy it. So I beat Skyrim this week. It's my second playthrough by that whole hack where you can just like cast a destruction level spell. And while you're casting it, you go to the map and then you put yourself somewhere else on the map and you fast travel and it logs your experience if you walk there casting the spell the whole time. So like you can just level up because I was like kind of bored and I wanted to like max out a bunch of crap.
You wanted an easy way to do it?
That's how you guys beat Crypt the Devil Lich.
By fast traveling?
Yes. On a magic carpet. Next game, the plan, if Cooper's drumming schedule can work with us here, is to recruit a few more players, and I would like to take on Hot Springs Island. I have
2 people possibly too. So
we gotta bring them in. I still gotta figure out the next 2 weeks we can't play, so I figure out how we can get excited for the game with no gaming going on.
Character creation.
So I have all the stuff ready for Hot Springs Island. I want to run Hot Springs Island. I'm excited for Hot Springs Island in Shadowdark. I found that someone did a conversion, not conversion, but they're right up for the monsters in Shadowdark. So I have a lot of work already done for me. So I've heard other folks have done it and enjoyed it. If you have played through Hot Springs Island in Shadowdark or any other system, honestly, I'd love your feedback on it, because it just looks like a great hex crawl where the players just decide whatever the heck they want to do. That's what they're doing. For purchasing stuff, we're talking about like not reviews, but like what we got. We have Ren Fair swag, of which some of it is for future gaming. So Cooper,
you do this first since it's right next to me.
Sure. Cooper is dying to show off his $50 Master Sword from Legend of Zelda. So this kid, when he finds out this thing is $50, what he starts doing is figuring out how he can get the money for it. So he dips into your food money for the Ren Fair, right? You just had that $20?
I had the $20 in my wallet for purchasing things.
Just in case.
I didn't, because
the last $27 on a gift card you found in your backpack from Gen Con for food.
That was in my wallet too.
And I think he spotted you $5 or something like that.
And then Mom handed me $5, which I gave back to her.
There you go. So we have the Master Sword for whatever purpose that's going to have in Shadowdark. The other thing that has nothing to do with Shadowdark is, Cooper, what is this? Why don't you tell the viewers what this is?
So essentially, you take dog treats and you put it in there.
It's Timber's first D20, our dog. Now everyone in the house is a D20, including our dog Timber. Timber now has a D20. This is made by Polymorph. That is just adorable. And I guess I can kind of hold this up to the screen. You can. There's their information at Polymorph on Instagram or X or Facebook. So it's just dog treats, but a die. That's cool. We bought. There is a one. So years ago at the Renaissance Festival, you could not get gaming stuff. Maybe you can find a pewter miniature here or there, but it was not easy to get gaming stuff there until about 7 or 8 years ago. So in the last few years, MistyMountainGaming.com. Now Misty Mountain Gaming is at the con and at the Renaissance Festival, and they have dice. So we got 3 sets of dice.
Do you have this along?
Yeah, here. Okay, hold them up. For new players, we got them. They were like $10 a set, a little pricey, but I mean, we want to support the folks that are like selling stuff at the Renaissance Festival that's gaming related. But we like keeping these sets of dice around to give away to new players. We almost always have a few of these sets. Like at Gen Con, I picked up some of my players these crystal cast dice for new players for Shadowdark that joined our Dungeons & Dojos game. So now some new folks can join in as we're trying to recruit and give them their dice. Does this mean Cooper isn't going to play a thief? Well, Cooper now said he'll play thieves and bards. He's split up a bit.
But that doesn't mean I'm not going to play a thief in the new campaign.
It's whatever you roll up, honestly. Your stats might say fighter.
What my mind might say thief.
All right, the last thing I got. This is my big purchase of the con.
It's very soft.
At the con, Renaissance Festival. He's saying con. Renaissance Festival.
It's oddly soft.
I know it is, isn't it? So I bought one of these cool journals. This one has a fun lock on the back, and voila, there is like cool paper inside. I know people that get these and are like, what the hell am I going to do with this thing? And I actually have one that's almost completely filled up right now. And I know you can swap out the paper in here and put more paper in here. But the one that I have is torn. The dog, because I keep it in my car, the dog stepped on it and broke it. So I'm using it up to get through it, but I wanted a new one. The one I have in my car, I use for Aikido. Every day at Aikido, I have a class. I write down everything I did in that class. So I'm kind of happy I'm like 2/3 full that one. This one I would like to use for Hot Springs Island. Which which buying a $70 or $60 or $50, these are 10 cents.
Hey,
A
it's the
$50
same price
set.
as a sword.
A $50 journal will probably damn the Hot Springs Island campaign. But what I typically do when I'm running adventures or campaigns, I can't share this because I can't. What I typically do when I'm running a campaign, Cooper can actually see this here, is I have like session notes per session. Session 1, Chamber of the Demon. That's the first session. March 17th, 2023. Notable events. We saved Staban for Sister Maeve, never faced off with the puppeteer and he fled, and unlocked the Twilight Sword. And we did, and there was no carousing. I don't know. It was in the game, I guess. Whatever. I write my notes of every session. What I'd like to do is use this to keep track of the days of the adventure sessions in here, but also maybe do like keep track of time and day and all that stuff. It's important you'll see. So we'll see. We'll see.
How many pages is on my document?
This one here, our Friday Shadowdark campaign is 22 pages, 45 sessions. Yeah.
We've only had 40-something sessions in a year.
45 sessions.
In 1 year?
A year and a half. We don't play every single weekend because of banned.
That's only recently.
Banned. All right. KW1076. I can't pronounce that too easily. I did 2 by several mystery dice sets. Oh, here are the dice. And let players grab ones they don't know what it is until they open it. Did they have mystery dice sets there? Of course, you're going to yawn. I didn't see mystery dice, but I'd be cool to grab some mystery ones. Like, just be a surprise. Like your 3D6 and order characters, kind of the new campaign. All right, let's get to the topic. We're 11 minutes in.
To see which one you get.
I'm going to be doing for the new campaign. You get to roll 2 sets of 3D6 in order. Pick which, and a valid set must have a 14. That's core Shadowdark rules. If you didn't know that, you 3D6 in order people. Core Shadowdark says, rules is written. You have to have you don't have to. You may re-roll a set if you don't have a 14 or higher. So you get to roll 2 sets.
So you can't have all ones because it'd be funny.
You can't have all ones. Well, no. If you happen to roll all 3s, then yes, you could play that character if you want. The only reason I'd say it'd be cool to have a character that's not doesn't have a 14. Like if I had a character that was like 4 13s, a 12, and a 10. I understand that's like all spread out, but I would totally play a character that's kind of a little good at everything. I'd try that. I would totally play that character. All right. So our question tonight that we got, the question that Coop be yawning a lot about. This was a question that was more tailored towards me, but I want to cover it. We said we cover it last week. Cooper can chime in where he wants, or he can monitor the chat. Either way. So on the Arcane Library Discord server, Chris, I don't know which Chris this is. It's just Chris. His name is in purple.
It's Chris.
It's Chris. Chris, topic request.
The magical.
DM prep. As much as I love Sly Flourish, another active DM perspective on prep would money bag. Big money, I guess money, like going to Vegas, like that movie. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm trying to understand the emoji.
It'd be awesome. It'd be money. It'd be lots of money. It'd be good. It'd be positive. Your little Gen Z mind can't understand that emoji, can it? Skibbity toilet, no Riz, Ohio. Okay.
Dad, I'm going to end the stream now and then restart it, and you're not.
I responded to him. Like the process that I go through to get ready. Nightmare said that's how I took what he said. And Chris said, yes. I know you've been running published adventures, so maybe there's not as much to work out. I like seeing everyone's organizational take on prep. Sly Flourish really wings it with a bare bones approach, which I like, but I'm not 100% comfortable with doing it myself just yet.
See?
D&D DM, I have no idea what I said either. I just I hear so much Gen Z speak in this house.
Okay, that's not Gen Z, that's Alpha.
Whatever, you all say it, because you know what? You're going to have the same problem. You're going to have the same problem as a borderline Gen Zer to Gen Alpha that I have had growing up with 1979 as my birthday. I am a borderline Gen X millennial. I'm Gen X. Like you are Gen Z. However, you're
Aren't you
gonna
like a
feel
millennial or something. Whatever.
yeah, you're gonna feel a little. You're gonna feel a little Gen Alpha. You're gonna feel a little bit of it. Just like I knew the world. Like I said last night, I knew the world before the internet. I know that, but I
But
also,
you also know the world with the internet.
Yeah. My condolences. I work in healthcare. I thank God every day that the kids I help are too young to talk. I didn't feel old until Skibbity. Oh man. You guys do say it. You're talking about having that Shadowdark Skibbity Shadowdark campaign.
Okay, but that's just a joke. We
don't know.
say it ironically.
Let's go to the just
we say it ironically, not unironically.
All right. Here we go. All right, so I want to go into this here. So first of all, I am not Sly Flourish, obviously, because like Sly Flourish is like amazing, and
because you don't have
has been around a while and all kinds of gaming stuff out there and has published stuff. It is very. He's got his own style, and I'm going to say this that. I'm not familiar with all of Sly Flourish's methods. I know there is some from you can just kind of throw things together, but I mean, honestly, he's publishing stuff. So is he really throwing it together, or is he more like, I don't know. This is not like a breakdown of how someone else does it. The question is, how do I do it? And all right, so Sly Flourish, I'm here, bare bones. My method is more like. I'm trying to gristly bones, like damp bones, like there's some drippings left on the bones. It's not bare bones.
Moist bones.
Moist.
Moist bones.
So let's be done saying that, okay? Let's be
Why?
done.
What's wrong with moist bones?
You're gonna people are gonna like the viewer count is gonna drop so fast here. It's already our typical viewer count. It's gonna. Let's not say that.
Dad.
No, let's just cut that one out.
Dad.
No,
yeah.
no, we're not.
You have to think.
We're not talking that
about the skibbity.
That's different.
The skibbity.
That's different.
The skibbity
That's
moist
different.
bones.
All right. Note to self: new trap. You fall into a pit of moist bones. All right.
They're not
So
wet. They're not dry.
As Chris said. Noted, I've been running a lot of published modules in my time, and especially when I was doing DCC. But in Shadowdark, I write a lot of my own adventures, a couple of which some people are playing and that might be watching here. Like What Lurks Beneath the Skin is something I wrote for Shadowdark that I'll be running next week at the Runehammer store. And then the Festival of 500 Flavors, I ran that a few months ago for my Dungeons and Dojos team, and I'll be running that at PAX Unplugged. All right, so my gristly bones,
moist bones.
You know what? Let's just call it. The ice cream sundae approach. That's a better name for it. You know why?
The moist bones.
For two reasons. The number one reason ice cream sundae approach works is because I think it describes how I put stuff together for Shadowdark.
What's wrong with you and the word moist?
Let's be done with it.
No, what's wrong with the word?
You know what? Let's just be done with the word, like, because a lot of people don't like that word. All right, so just be done with it. All right,
it's just a word.
Cool. Anyway, let's like either participate in the active chat or just like go on the phone thing. Either way, like do your whatever you do. That thing, like monitor the
what is
chat. It's that thing.
What does
anyway.
That mean?
Anyway, ice cream sundae approach. And I use this only when I'm writing a Shadowdark delve, like a dungeon. And I have some examples here of how I would do it. So I think of it as you have your ice cream, your toppings, your syrup, your jimmies, and your cherry. Right?
Sprinkles.
Jimmies.
Sprinkles.
So I have produced an adventure sort of here on, and this is my Dwarven Forge example. And just pretend each of these is a room. And I'm sure folks who write dungeons typically have a plot for the dungeon. I almost never do. So if I'm writing a dungeon adventure for Shadowdark,
you just put something there.
I just start putting crap on the table. I think I look for either the basic like layout of like where I want, how many tiles I want to have, and then I start just picking cool rooms. I putting cool rooms, and I make sure they're connected. That's the ice cream. That's the base. You don't need to have Dwarven Forge. You can draw cool rooms, or I have a lot of the maps of mastery sets. I use a lot of these. You could use Legos.
Like,
yeah, 100%.
Legos are pretty basic, but they work.
The maps of master. So I'll be using one of these next week for the what's it called? Why can't I remember here? Because the what lurks beneath the skin adventure. I'll be using some maps of master because I don't want to transport this crap around with me. So throw some of these together, connect them. I like to say that base is the map. I'm always rooted in the map when I prep an adventure, when I prep a dungeon. Then the next thing I like to think of as the toppings, right? So you have your ice cream. I'm sorry, ice cream toppings, syrup, jimmies / sprinkles, and cherry.
No, it's just sprinkles.
Whatever. I like to think what monster I want to include in the dungeon. And so for this one, I picked a couple. I picked a really cool Earth Elemental I painted not too long ago. And I picked a cool like evil knight on a statue, you know, or on a pedestal, not a statue. And I picked those things from Pal World that I have bases on now. So the first two things I think are critical and clutch. If I have some cool rooms and some cool monsters laid out, I'm excited about running. Thank you. I appreciate that. I didn't paint this stuff. I did paint this. So
these would be too complicated to paint. No,
you can. These are not hard to paint at all.
Yeah, but like they already come looking pretty nice.
Yeah, actually, if it's spent a ridiculous amount of money to get them come looking already nice, they don't come that way unless you pay extra.
I mean, you could chuck them at a wall and it would break the wall instead of them.
That's true. I could do that. I like to find monsters that rhyme and have a reason to be together. So if this is a dungeon that is, you know, like in a cavern, I have some cavern pieces and some dungeon pieces. I might want to have there be some remnants of whatever was here. So maybe we say this guy's undead. All right. Because that's why he's still down there. The living creatures,
maybe they were like fossils, like the dinosaurs were at least.
Well, I figure these are an adventuring part of like lizardy folks or dinosaur people. Okay. So I have the living creatures have a reason for being there. I think dungeon ecology is really important. Why are things down there in the dungeon? What are they doing there? They aren't just waiting in a room to attack you. There should be some purpose for why they're there. So I have the dungeon. I have the monsters. Still not a damn thing about a plot yet here. So the next thing is syrup. That's treasure. I'm not even worried about the plot yet. I want to put treasures in here. I'm not usually looking for actual what is the treasure. I kind of am. About 90% of the treasure I place in Shadowdark is random. 10% I might say I want to put something cool there. Not a flying carpet, but maybe a bag of holding or something. But I'll put little treasure tokens around in here. But what I usually do for treasure, I love the in Shadowdark all of the charts, and my favorite really is, I think I use more than anything are the treasure tables. And so that starts, so treasure table 0 through 3 starts on page 270. So what I enjoy about this especially is I enjoy letting the players roll on this damn chart for me, and then I don't worry about it. I just know there is treasure chest in here.
Just like roll D100.
Yeah, I'd let you guys roll. And if you get a crappy roll, I'd let you use a luck token on it. So
I'm guessing that's a house roll. Or is that an in-game roll?
I don't know. In luck tokens, it says you can use it to roll anything. Let's check luck tokens again. Luck tokens.
So I could use it to re-roll
damage.
Essentially anything, yeah.
Not hit points when you start out, and not character.
Not that, but like
what are you gonna try to say?
During a game, not like during character creation or something like that, but like during a game.
Yes, unless you have some. So luck tokens, to re-roll any roll you just made. So if I'm giving the players the chance to roll treasure, I let you guys re-roll it. So you don't roll a 1 and get a bent tin fork. You might roll 95 to 95 and get an egg of the cockatrice. So
One thing I do with treasure is I kind of just like I have that. Remember my sheet that I have written down, which has what the special items we have, and then the page number.
Yes.
In the book.
Yes.
That's just one thing I do from my perspective. To know
that's how you GM.
Well, that's from my perspective as a player. To know what the treasures that we have are.
Well, I think it's important it's definitely important to track what your magical items do, because you.
Well, I can't track what my crossbow does because you made it up.
You can always write down. I tell you what they do.
Okay, I have that at the very top of my sheet.
Anyway, we're at the Jimmies. We're at the sprinkles. If you don't know, Jimmies are what people in Philly call sprinkles.
I don't. None of my friends.
Because you're not from here.
90% of my friends are, and they call them sprinkles.
Your parents aren't cool.
Dad, that's literally just you.
Anyway,
and people from northern Philly.
So, from Northeast. Southwest Philly. Okay,
close enough.
Okay, so KW 1076 group in Southwest Ohio, and we call them Jimmies. There you go. All right. So what the Jimmies are here, what I sprinkle on is some semblance of plot. Why is the party here? And a very basic thing, just looking at this, is what they want to kill this undead guy. All right, that's what they're going for. They're going to kill the undead guy. They have the undead guy's a magic shield and a magic sword, and they want to kill the undead guy. All right, and they got to go through all these rooms, and they got to kill the undead dude. And that's the plot. And it can be very basic. And I think a dungeon crawl, there's in Shadowdark, there's nothing wrong with a basic plot. And you sprinkle that on top of you sprinkle the plot on. Make sure the plot is touching every part of the map. So why are these guys here? This is an adventuring party. They want to do the same damn thing. Why are these undead people over here? Well,
dead.
They were friends of the undead guy here. They were his pals, and they're trapped here too. All right. So yeah, Agri Day, I'm just sprinkling the plot. Just sprinkle it on top. Just sprinkle it. Little plot in every room. This is how I do it. So I was asked, how do I write adventures? It's a hot mess. So I make sure that the plot of the module of the adventure is just, yes, like Parmesan, or I'm more of a Romano cheese guy. I think is where my family in Italy was from. The very last thing on any adventure I write, I try to put some kind of twist in the adventure to make it unique. That is the cherry on top. What is something to make this not basic? What I would do here is a twist, and I'm a visual person. I look for clues. I see that this earth elemental has bones on it, right? I would say this is not this big bad here. Maybe he's not such a bad guy. Maybe. And also, maybe he's indestructible. Maybe he comes back to life over and over again.
Maybe his name's Frank and he just wants to sell his ice cream.
Because his bones are trapped in this earth elemental. And maybe the PCs get clues, like from these weird little monster dudes, or from the ghosts, that, you cannot kill this thing. It'll reform. Agri Day says, like, timers, maybe after 10 in-game minutes, or 10 real life minutes, this thing reforms and chases the party down. They might just leave the dungeon, or they can find some clues that say, hey, its bones are shoved in the earth elemental. And they might have just go kill the earth elemental instead. That's the big boss. And when you fix this guy, he just gives you the shield. And that's a different way to get, and maybe some other treasure, or maybe the shield does something better, because it's just a +1 shield if you steal it, if you get it off and then flee the dungeon.
Still a shield.
But if he gifts it to you, it's a +2 shield with some kind of cool power. Like if a breath weapon from a dragon is hitting you, you get to absorb 5 damage of it or something like that. So that's the cherry on top. To take your dungeon, and Shadowdark is a great game for playing just awesome, fun delves and dungeon crawls and going through caverns and killing monsters. But just finding some way to make those bits interesting at the end, or some kind of big reveal that makes it, it was something else all along. I think goes a long way. Some other twists I've done, if I'm stuck for time, I will often have there be like, especially the con game. If I've written a dungeon running for a con game, I might make where the final boss ends up. I might make that a variable point. Something I stole from Monty Cook and how they do their adventures. They're like mini snapshot adventures. Their adventure keys or plot keys, whatever they're called, in their cipher games. So you can have the big bad scene or the big final reveal scene happen somewhere else in the module, in the adventure, just so you can have it in a shorter time slot. And another thing I've done is to have I like bad guys that talk and try to talk you out of killing them. I think you've seen quite a few of them at the table. They'll be like, "Hey, I'm not bad. Let me go."
End up being bad.
What was that?
And then some of them end up being bad.
But sometimes you're friends with them, or you don't kill them, or you play chess with them, or you play a board game with them, and that's how you beat them.
Or you kill them anyways.
That too. Ryan really digs the Monty Cook adventure methods. Yeah, I think that there's a lot to learn. And whatever I've just put together is really borrowing from so many other folks. I think that there are probably innovative ways to run adventures still and write modules and write dungeons, and but a lot of folks just find what works for them, and kind of like how D&D was made originally, right? I mean, you know, you got I'm trying to see, where did I read this at? It was where was I reading this about Gary Gygax at? Oh, it was in the Time magazine. There's a Time, if you haven't seen, there's a Time magazine special article about D&D. It's out right now, talking about how, like, you know, the very first D&D was like the ancestries, the races from Lord of the Rings, but the magic from Vance and the setting of Conan, that sword and sorcery stuff. So borrow from where I'm going to borrow. Monsters with motives that don't involve elimination. Agree. Yeah, that I think monsters with motives that the party can get on board with is so important, because, you know, remember, especially in Shadowdark, you know, there's a reaction, or is it here? There's a I'm gonna pull it. There's a reaction modifier in there for a reason, like to get your to try to talk the monster to not killing you. KW says, out of curiosity, do you put any consideration into how previous adventures play into upcoming adventures? Oh, hell yeah. For campaigns, for sure.
I thought of that partially.
What's that?
When we were in our final part.
Today?
No, because remember, I don't know how much this is going to do any spoiler things, but remember how I was like, how is this going to impact our other campaign since it's in the same universe?
Well, I do have...
And, like, those were upcoming things. I wanted to know how that would...
Well, that was weirdly metagaming of you, but it was interesting.
But, like, that's just from my perspective, because I'm in most of the other games.
What Cooper's saying is, so I have, at this present point, I have 3 campaigns going. 2 Shadowdark campaigns and an Old School Essentials campaign. And they all take place in the same world. It's an amalgamation of the Shadowdark Curse Scroll stuff, because it started with my Shadowdark world, and I've been dropping in pieces here and there. Like the Swordfish Isles will be somewhere on my world. It's just some of the lands I've created. Some of them are from published things that I've just plopped in.
Scorch's Isle was
I created Scorch's Isle.
Was yours?
That was mine. Yeah. That was sort
of... You kind of just add on to it, right?
I just add
based on what's going on.
Yeah, I just add on bits and pieces as we go along. I have a big master map that I work on. Again, it all starts with the map. So I often don't run the same adventure in more than once. Like, I'm kind of going a little out of the way, running Festival of 500 Flavors, because in a second time, because in my mind, when an adventure happens for me, it has happened as a GM. When I've run an adventure, that is how that adventure plays. I very, very rarely will go back and rerun even published modules. I will very rarely rerun a published module again, because we played it. That's what happened. Just like I don't go back and play. There's the video games I won't play again either. Like ones where there's world-changing plots. I don't think I'll ever play Dragon Age Origins again, because to me the the Grey Warden that was like the awesome guy in that game. The hero Ferelden is a dwarf named Adarago, and that a dwarf thief from the slums. That's my character from that, and in my head, that's the way it is. So as
it's also Subnautica too.
well,
You
that's
can be like,
that's different.
But
I
your
won't
game,
play that-
okay, yeah, but your game ended in how you ended it, how you left everything, and then you dipped.
Well, I probably
You
won't
know,
play Subnautica again. You're right, but
There's the second
I'm
game
thinking
too, which
more
I
for
haven't
games
finished,
that build onto other games. From a GM's perspective, I do not. Every adventure usually has something to do with the next adventure, even for worlds that don't connect. Even in games that don't connect. So things that your characters do, if it's on the same world, and I ran DCC the same way. My DCC campaigns I ran, especially during the pandemic, I had several going on, and they all, even my Lankmar campaign, there was some interaction with that. I had some like interplanar stuff. So I definitely put into consideration how previous adventures played, upcoming adventures, and if I'm reading it, I guess you read it a couple of different ways. If you're asking if I change it, if I'm going to run the same adventure again, I guess just answer that I don't run it right the same way. I don't usually run it a second time. When I do run it a second time, I will say there are some times I run an adventure differently the second time I've run it. The most notable one of the times I've done that was when I wrote Dungeon Battle Delco for Hex Crawl, DCC Hex Crawl, and the first few times I wrote it to run at conventions and in public gaming spaces, because back then it was like pre-COVID. I was trying to get into like the Philly public gaming scene and play at stores and play at cons. My first few playthroughs of it, the final boss just got walloped so hard that like it was like an anticlimactic ending, which is sort of my issue with DCC con games to begin with. Is any DCC con game at the end? What's up, Neon Glitch? That's like a cool like name. It's like look at that. It's like a purple hand.
I think it'll.
Can I? Anyway, sorry. I'm messing around with your icon, Neon Glitch. Sorry about that.
It looks cool.
It looks cool. One of my issues with DCC at con games is that the wizard of the game is always going to like save their best, like their magic missile or their fireball, their flaming hands to the end of the adventure and spell burn themselves to oblivion and cast like a mega nuke on the whole scene.
Atomic bomb.
They're going to atomic bomb the last scene. So when I rewrote it for Gen Con, I put a second boss after the first boss. The first boss was not the real boss, and the players just like shot everything at that guy, and then poof, they're off to the real boss. So, all right, that was 26 minutes of me rambling about how I write stuff, and I hope it was a different perspective. I definitely do things different if I'm taking an adventure and I'm adapting it to home play. So like Crypt the Devil Lich, I adapted a lot of it. I don't always use it. Like I don't always run it as written completely. Sometimes I do, but I try to adapt to the scene. Or if I'm running it for a con, it will look different. You got what I meant. Okay, you got what I meant. Consequences from previous adventures. Since the original question mentioned mentioned the why Sly Flourish plans. His method is really based on the actions of the characters. So I'm glad I hit the nail on the head there. I hope. I have not seen a lot of stuff from Sly Flourish. I've watched, I think, some videos, and I've seen some of the books. So, I mean, but I'm not like.
At least you have some knowledge.
Yeah, I spent a lot of years like really hardcore, like stuck into the DCC verse and not drifting out of it. So in some ways, like I was making a comment online about like I'm experiencing this OSRR, this old school renaissance. Like for me, like I'm coming back to these kinds of games. Shadowdark brought me back. Yeah, it's an OSR squared. Shadowdark got me back interested in it, and now I'm like playing OSE, and I'm wanting to run Hot Springs Island. Some people were doing 10 years ago. I'm kind of getting back into it, even though 10 years ago I I was playing DCC was just one of the games I was playing, along with I was still running Back Me D&D, and I was still playing basic fantasy RPG. And then DCC just kind of took over, and I just stopped looking at the other OSR stuff out there.
You're also converting DCC modules into Shadowdark too.
So
you're not like fully like stopped.
No, and it's not, again, as I've been very careful to say on other videos, older videos have done this channel. None of this is an indictment of DCC. I love DCC. I just played a lot of DCC, and I love how Shadowdark ratchets down some of the gonzo, takes some of the crazy down a little bit. I think lets players imagine more solutions, whereas in DCC, a lot of the crazy rolls take over the game. I think sometimes the randomness of DCC takes over the game. It takes over the scene. It doesn't matter as much, like in the dungeon that you're in, like, you know, like where you're going to search for traps yourself and how you're going to like probe this wall, or how you're going to get the attention of the Minotaur and have them chase you because you're too busy dropping an atomic bomb, the magic missile blowing through all the walls and stuff. Neon Glitch, that's how I feel about 5e. I moved to Pathfinder 2nd edition, but I don't think that's the game for me. I was going to move to DCC until Shadowdark came along. I don't regret a single day of playing Shadowdark since it came out. And I will say, my first playthrough of it, I'm like, why would I drop DCC for this? And I think a year and a half in, and yesterday's session wrapped up 45 sessions is how many games it took us to get through, to get to 10th level, essentially.
And we had the 10th level halfway through that. Well, towards the end of that.
Towards the end of yesterday's session.
It's not like the final thing knocked us up to level 10.
Right. No,
we were level 10 for a little bit.
Yeah, you guys got there for a few rounds.
Me pointing out that we should do our level up things then.
That was very important. Because it gave you access to the wish spell.
The wish spell, like,
getting that through the dungeon was helpful. Yeah, if you've never played DCC and you've never experienced DCC, I'm going to tell you, it is an amazing romp. And I just, you know, there are so many friends and connections and experience I had in Dungeon Crawl Classics. And there's some, I mean, as folks who've watched the channel before know, or have seen my other stuff, I mean, I've completed like 107, 108 of the DCC modules now. And they're just such a great run. I just feel more like in Shadowdark, I'm writing my own stuff. And up in our Shadowdark campaign, up to 9th level, I had written the majority of what we played. I just have been sitting on the Crypt the Devil Lich book since I got it during the pandemic, or right after the pandemic started, or maybe it was a year after that. But when I kickstarted it,
you've done anything for it?
For Crypt the Devil Lich? Yeah. I've had that book on the shelf, but I want to run this at one point and try it. And I just did it with Shadowdark. Have you done any hex crawling and overland in it, or mostly dungeon crawling? I'm thinking of a West Marches style of gaming with it. So if you mean Shadowdark, yes. So we've done much hex crawling. So we've
done a few hex crawls.
Yeah. So this is the Curse Scroll 2. I have it out because I'm answering a question from Brian McKay about Curse Scroll 2, one of the classes in here. But each of the 3 Curse Scrolls have a hex crawl essentially in them. Now, it's not, each is a bit different. So this is the one from the Curse Scroll. This is the Red Sand Scrolls. This is the Jurum. This is the deserts. I set this desert world to the east of my main city in my campaign. And Cooper and his friends and my friend Akash, they played through this hex crawl as part of their Shadowdark campaign.
And we had like a whole defend the location thing too.
You did, which was something that came out of just collaboratively rolling dice and having random stuff.
Yeah, and we
get more on camera.
Well, I was leaning in because I was looking at the thing, and then I just didn't move back.
I'm also running the hex crawl for the gloaming, the dark fantasy style from Curse Scroll 1. Are these hex crawls like super in depth? No, it's they give you the bare bones to work with here. and you can add your own stuff in there, your own tidbits.
They're like, here's something to work off of. Do something.
Now, if you want a more in-depth hex crawl, I know that there are new hex crawling rules coming out from Arcane Library and Kelsey Dion in one of the upcoming Cursed Scrolls, I think being kickstarted next year. There's going to be at least 3 more, I think, coming.
So there's going to be 6 total.
Yeah,
7?
for now, 6. There's going to still be 6.
I didn't know if there was 3 or 4.
But if you want to do a desert like hex crawl, you can definitely do that with Curse Scroll 2. Curse Scroll 3 is a Viking sea crawl, and each Curse Scroll has some classes that let you add them into your core 4, and you can kind of mix and match what feels good to your game. But you could there are other published hex crawls that you could use for Shadowdark, and there's also, I will note, if you use this too, Shadowdark has some very, very, very robust rules in the book to holy crap, David Howard's here. Like the founder of Nero's Flesh Hut. So I don't want to go off the rails here, but David was legendary dude here that's watching right now in my new Manera campaign that started a time traveling character that started a fish fry restaurant in the past and brought it to the future. That's how new Manera works. Hi, David. Anyway, off rails here. I see things, I say things. So this is about 50 pages of this book. Here's how to make settlements. And by the way, here are random generators for taverns and things that can happen in all these areas. You know what? You're in a market. Your players are in a market. They're in a city. You want something cool to happen. Why? Your game is a 6:30 to 8:30 Friday game, and it's 8:45, and you don't want to start the dungeon because you've been carousing all night. You roll a D100, and a chained brown bear tears loose and goes on a rampage. Why is it there? Hey, circus is in town. Okay, there's a circus in town, and you know what? You deal with this chained brown bear. And hey, you know what? Maybe you kill the brown bear, or maybe you save it. Maybe you join the circus. Now you're in the circus. That's one roll on this chart here. I especially like in the randomness of this book. How each entry is unique and interesting. It's not just you encounter goblins. No, you encounter 3d4 goblin scavengers who barter and trade for odd trinkets. You find a deep gnome who plays haunting music on a humming fungi. This is in the ruins. So I'm fairly certain and confident that you can, do some hex crawling, throw this stuff in, and
because we rolled
gone
that
off the rails in the questioning here, but I do love my hex crawling
because we rolled that side mission that we did.
We rolled a lot of missions.
We rolled that side defend the
rolled the side, mission. Rolled the front. All right, let's roll the Riz. We're gonna move on to questions from the void. Ultimately, Chris, thank you for sending the question over. I'm glad I got to give some of my thoughts on GMing, and it's probably a better video if I did it by myself and didn't have to thank you for sitting here with me. I know I've
done some things.
Yeah, you've done some things.
I'm interacting in some way.
So let's go into questions from the void. Anything from the chat we missed, anything from previous comments, and you can send your questions to shadowdarksundays@gmail.com. So what did you miss in the chat? KW said my first rule set was the basic D&D red box. Which red box? I have the Elmore cover was my first red box. I have my red box books still over there, or the box is way gone. I'm glad I found Shadowdark at the end of the Kickstarter. So am I, because I got the books for everyone in our table, much cheaper than I would have to pay for them later. I'm happy to see it growing in popularity. And then Neon Glitch has the PDF, but is waiting to get the physical books to dive in. Funny story about that. We didn't have the main game for months until we had the quick start rolls Like we start, I think
because like you would only have your computer out. We would just have to ask you if we wanted to know what something did.
Yeah.
But now we have our books, and if we want to,
Different having the books for sure.
We can just grab one off the shelf, pull it out, and be like, "Oh, that's what that does."
So we're gonna go. We have some questions today. Let me see here.
Let me see if Evie wants to.
No, it's fine.
Questions.
No, it's
as a cameo.
I don't think she's feeling great. So Evie's upstairs, but I don't think she's feeling so hot. All right. So from Brian McKay, aloha judges. My sincerest apologies. I missed submitting questions for the big show last week. Your Sunday was our Monday, and our Monday was a holiday for the monarch's birthday. Since it's a bit of a question for me as an American, what the monarch means, I interpret it this year as celebrating the king of Elfland. Questions for the show. 1, have you ever played with the Ross Godai class from Shadowdark Curse Scroll 2? It sounds incredible. It might be a bit too powerful. What are your thoughts? So do you remember Andy's Ross Godai?
I think faintly.
Do you remember why it was a powerful class?
Because it was there.
Because it was there.
Because it did something.
The Ross Godai is an assassin. I don't know where the name comes from. I think it came from. There's sort of like a ninja feel to it. I think the name came from like the Secret Assassins from the Batman Return or Batman movie. The one with Christian Bale, the first Christian Bale movie. So Ross Godai get an assassin. You can do double damage. You get sneak attack. You advantage to sneak and hide. You get a smoke step teleport 3 times a day to a location you can see it's near. It does not use your action. And then you get every time you get a talent, you could choose instead to when you start out, when you start out, you roll a talent on the Black Lotus table. You may, if you roll a 3d6 in your talent roll an additional Black Lotus talent. Black Lotus talents might be once a day, you paralyze a level 9 or less creature for a d4 rounds. You gain a +1 to your AC with a melee weapon in each hand. You deal triple damage or assassinate talent. All right. So what do I think about this character, this class? So I think that it's if you are, and also they have a d6 hit points. I feel that the Ross Godai could be a broken character class in a campaign where you're sizing it up against a thief in terms of being like a stealthy attacker. Like, so if you're a thief in the party, you have multiple thieves, and one thief is like the sneak attack specialist or is mostly like a combat thief, and you have a Ross Godai. The Ross Godai is just going to trump the combat thief any day. Thieves shouldn't be combat thieves. They should be like stealing stuff. But some folks like Cooper play their thief like this combat thief, where it's you're a sniper. You're just a sniper.
Okay, but I have a good reason to. I do 7d6 damage.
I was going to get to that. As a 10th level thief, you'd be doing 8d6 damage to that crossbow.
No, I still do 7.
I think the Ross Godai,
I do 8.
Personally, for several reasons, is a very front-loaded character class that is going to get outpaced potentially by the wizard and the thief. The thief, because their sneak attack will eventually do more and more damage.
Is that like how much of mine did at 8th and 9th level?
It did a little less, but
I was
still
doing like 6 or 7.
It's still better than triple damage. Where the Ross Godai is a really cool character, a really powerful character class. Is the Razor Chain and the Scimitar are both dex-based weapons that do a d6 damage that you can just do it and not promote your movement. So a thief can only use a d6 damage weapon as a sneak attack, as a backstab, if it's a short sword, which requires strength, or whether it's a crossbow, because they have short bow and crossbow. But a crossbow, they lose their move action. So I think the Ross Godai at first level is going to be pretty freaking amazing. And yet we had one in the party, and Andy's Roscoe die, the one thing is they're great using poisons, or they can become trained at poison. Andy's was, and poisoned himself twice.
Andy's Roscoe died. Roscoe died.
And just, I think the Roscoe die we saw wasn't indicative of the real Roscoe die.
Emphasis on the die part.
I'd like to see more of this character class. I think to get a good feel on it. But I feel like it's a little power heavy. I feel like it is. In the beginning of the game. And there's other classes like that. The Fiend from Unnatural Selection is definitely a great character class at the first few levels, but eventually the fighter overtakes them. It just happens. So my opinion on the Roscoe die. Try it though. You know what? Try it and then throw some crap at it and like just weed it out of your party. All right, with Halloween coming up, have you thought about running a horror adventure for Shadowdark? If you did, what adventure would you choose? I am running a horror adventure, but it's a little after. It's a little after Halloween because our Dungeon Dojos team can't meet till after Halloween, and
isn't it once a month?
Yes,
It's
going to be a haunted house adventure with a twist, with a cherry on top.
Some sprinkles. Are you gonna like haunt up the house, like this house, or are you gonna? Like,
I don't think. I would like to make this room haunted, but it's good. You
could shut the lights off and make the lights red.
But you're right. I could do that. But I don't know if I will do that because the lighting and my eyes are old.
Or just like, just don't turn them off, but like dim them to
flicker them on and off.
And start a fire?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Just start it, put it in the middle so
it'll be like, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I can't say it, but you know what I'm talking about.
I'm not sure I do, but we're going to keep going. All right.
Let's just say it's
anyway,
happened at
all
the
right.
table.
Let's keep going. All right. So I have a haunted mansion adventure to run with a big twist. So I'll be running that for Halloween. But Brian's asking with Halloween. So what adventure would I choose? So Ravenloft. I'm sorry. If you did, what adventure would you choose? Ravenloft with a DCC horror adventure. I don't own Ravenloft anymore. I've sold every copy of my Ravenloft stuff that I had.
How many copies of it did you have?
I mean, I had a stack of Ravenloft this high.
Jesus.
And I just sold it all off. So because I wasn't playing it anymore. But I had like the setting. I had copies of the adventure. I had the 3rd edition version. I gotta make room. If I was going to run an adventure for a horror adventure, it's a tough call. For Shadowdark, I'd probably it would not be hard to do a DCC module if you wanted to. Although as I've said in the past, you got to do a lot of converting to make them work. There is an adventure. Where is it? I'm going to tell you what I do. D&D. No, I'm going to put in Dungeon Magazine. Okay. The adventure I would suggest, and you're going to have to go dig for it in a bin. Okay. I just looked it up to make it. So it was in Dungeon Magazine 29. And it's an adventure called Through the Night. I'm no spoilers. It's an AD&D 2nd edition adventure. Really easy to convert to Shadowdark or Old School Essentials, obviously. So OSR games, very easy to convert over. It is an adventure that definitely has a twist. It's also an adventure that suits lower level parties. And it can be added into any campaign when you're stopping at an inn or for the night. So it's a good side quest adventure. It's a fantastic side quest adventure for a party that is like you're like doing a hex crawl and you just want to plop something in there. It's not going to take a lot of time. I think like 1 night session, but a great way if you have a non-horror campaign that you're running and you want to have a horror adventure for Halloween. Through the Night, Dungeon Magazine. Go find a PDF of it. I'm sure that I'm sure you can buy them on drive-through. I don't know. Can you buy all Dungeon Magazine on drive-through RPG? I thought you could. But that's the one. Try to get one. I have a copy of that magazine, so in my shelf. It's one of the few that I still have, but great adventure. So that is what I'd run, Brian. And last question for Brian: if you have an option of the following before your next game, where would you go to get coffee? Sheets or Wawa? Cooper, Sheets or Wawa?
Wawa.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to before my next
Sheets
game.
is fine, but like I didn't get there as much as I've gotten from Wawa. I've lived out here less than I lived out then I was out there, but like I can't count the first like 2 years of living out there. So I'm going with Wawa.
I'm gonna have to say Wawa. I go back and forth on
Wawa just has better
superiority.
drinks in my opinion.
Wawa, I think right now is ahead of the coffee game.
It's also closer by to us.
It is closer. That means I can
It's
get
just
it
down
home.
the street, so.
So I'm gonna go Wawa. Cooper and I agree for once on something. All right.
Mom probably wouldn't.
Cheers, Brian. Brian, thank you for the questions. Anyone else, you are always free to send us questions at Shadowdark Sundays.
It's pinned. Or is it pinned?
It's pinned. ShadowdarkSundays@gmail.com. We love to read questions. There was some chatter here. Let's see here. KW, the Larry Elmore red box. If I heard correctly, we're close to the same age. I am 45. So I'll be 46 next year. Zennials. And yeah, I got it from this guy, my neighbor Chuck, who ran us through our first RPGs. The first one, it was he wrote himself called RPG. I think he had heard about D&D, but was trying to write it himself. You played it for like one session.
Time you talked to Chuck?
College. Been a long time.
You talked to Chuck?
I don't know where Chuck is.
Chuck
but
him down.
He was the guy that ran all of the games on our block. And when I wanted to, what? Chuck who?
It said Chuck him down.
Oh,
like track him down.
So he was the guy that ran all the games on our block, and I wanted to GM. I went to DM, and I asked. He had switched over to AD&D, and he sold me his red box for like $10. So, and he gave me the book from the blue box. So, okay, cool. Oh, I have this here. I'll get to a second. All right, so that's the story of Chuck. David, what's the best thing you have liked best? Oh, what's been the thing you've liked best about Shadowdark? What's the best thing you've liked best? The thing I've liked best about Shadowdark. Oh my gosh.
I like it because it's simple for new players.
Yeah, it's cool. I think this is a question for Cooper. Cooper, what? So say it again. What is the thing you like best about Shadowdark?
It's easy for new people to learn it. Because we've had new people join for like a game and they understood it by the end.
You think it's easier than DCC? Why?
I mean, it's just easier.
But why is it easier?
The rules are easier to understand.
You think so? Okay. I think
because I played DCC.
I
know how long I played DCC for.
DCC
and I still don't have a good understanding of all the rules.
I think.
I understand I played Shadowdark like almost weekly, but like still.
I feel like so my friend and my player now, because I play with Landon quite a few times. My friend Landon had sent me that like OSR Apocrypha or whatever it is. It's like a PDF about like what is OSR gaming, all these different aspects of it. And I feel like Shadowdark strips out. First, it's built on a core that is familiar to players, contemporary players. So when DCC came out, it came out in 2012. So contemporary players, you are, yeah. Contemporary players at the time were coming off of like 3rd edition, right? I mean, 4th edition. I know there's always a story that the book being burned on the pyre in the DCC core book is 4th edition, but like players were most experienced at that point with 3rd edition probably, since 4th edition didn't last very long. So contemporary players now are kind of like into 5th edition. Like that's the game. The mechanics in this in Shadowdark, there's 5e guts in them, right? The advantage, disadvantage. That's from 5th edition. So there's that familiarity like a death timer. I know it's different. Death saves and death timer is different, but still, it's not like what it was for me in second edition, and it's not basic. There's enough that's familiar to have, I think, contemporary players say, "I will try it," while letting GMs be free to run games quickly and spend less times on rules and more times on rulings and or improvisational aspects of the game. It forces players to do more than to get off your character sheet and figure out what you're going to do. I think Shadowdark does that well. Does it exceptionally well while having those 5e guts. So it's hard to know one thing. And it has luck tokens like Savage Worlds. I love Savage Worlds, and it's like it's got a bit of this and a bit of that. A little bit of this, some jimmies here and some jimmies there. All right.
Sprinkles.
Neon Glitch, I run a haunted mansion for the players every year, and the ghosts that appear in it are their characters from past sessions who ran the haunted mansion. I love that. That's awesome. I want to talk about what the haunted mansion thing is, but Cooper, there's always the chance Cooper is going to play in Cooper's a fill-in character player sometimes, but I think as Flank, the Bard, yeah. I can't say anything. Which random tables from Montana Squires? Which random tables are best for prep in Shadowdark or otherwise? All right, so if we're talking about the core book, all right, the main book, I think the tables that are best here to prep. So you're gonna open the book. I would.
Then you're gonna close the book.
I would bookmark the something happens page. That's pages 118 to 119. That's if something crazy you want to toss in there, and then rumors. Bookmark that 120. The rumors page is really, really good if you want to roll up an adventure and just say you want to have the rumor be the adventure. If you're stuck, you roll. Page 58, 59. A wizard accidentally let his trio of cockatrices escape. That's the adventure. And then you can always roll a second rumor. 3 thieves just pulled off a gemstone heist nearby and find some way to add them together. Maybe they use the cockatrices.
How about an armored beast the size of a ship is rampaging nearby on a 1?
You could, that would be terrible. Maybe it is just a rumor though. I'd have those tabs open. There is a tab. There's a tab for adventure generator on page 122 where you could literally say D20 rescue the roll again hostage from of the Dwarven Lord. There you go. Where's the adventure site? You can roll that too. Honestly, so many of these are great, but my favorites are the encounter tables that happen after. I feel like just having those ready to roll if the players are working on a river or a coast, I'm going to keep this open, and I might just behind the scenes roll to just try to come up with something and look down. Oh, I can use that. I can pull that in
just to get something that you can toss in eventually.
I hate to say all of it's good, but all of it's good. That was terrible. I'm sorry, Montana Squires. I'm terrible at giving advice. I know we're running over here.
By 10 minutes.
KW says, looks like the issues of Dungeon on Drive-Thru start on issues 155. So 29 would be hard to find. I still stand by my somewhere there's got to be a way to get that magazine, like on Noble Knight Games or something. KW also says spellcasting alone is way easier in Shadowdark. I totally agree. But I think I like how you can re-roll if you have more than just casting one spell a day if you're a first level character. Like so Eli's elf, that's a class in Old School Essentials, once a day can cast one spell. And I think he's got it's a charm person. That's it. Cast it, done. Can't cast it again until the next day.
It sucks.
There's still something beautiful about Old School Essentials. I'm not quite
because it's old school.
I'm not. I'm learning from it. That is an educational experience. I'm trying to get playing.
Is that what the E stands for? Actually, educational.
No, it's Essentials.
Old school educational.
I just like the magic isn't so swingy that it just can ruin your evening potentially. Sometimes there's if you play let the dice fall where they may, which I do when I'm running DCC or any game for that matter. And you roll one of those spell results, it could just jack you. All right, Neon Glitch. My problem with Pathfinder 2nd Edition is that I don't feel I'm running the games. I feel like I'm interpreting what the rules dictate. But like with the OSR games, it feels more like the GM runs the game. I feel like the players run the game, and in at least the OSR stuff I've run, that the players with a good table, the players take over the action and they are driving the story forward. So, but I would agree. I just popped it right up there, KW. I'd like to see the idea of mercurial magic for Shadowdark, though. Wouldn't be hard to figure out a way to homebrew it. More than mercurial magic, I really like spell stipulations from DCC Lankmar. I think there's one DCC box that a Shadowdark fan would love to have, from the fact that it gives you a full city campaign, the fact that the map is freaking awesome. This is Doug Kovacs's Lankmar map. All right, we have on our wall here. I think if you are a fan of Fafford and the Grey Mouser at all, I think to go to Lankmar be great. And spell stipulations are pretty wild. It helps you make magic a bit more low. Like you can only cast a spell if you have not eaten for the day, or maybe your magic missile, you can't eat before casting your magic missile, or maybe you can only cast Charm Person if you're facing east. There's some fun ways to make each spell a bit unique without breaking them. So, all right, we are way over. We're an hour and 11 minutes. We still have people hanging out with us. That's why I hate cutting things short. But I'm going to start cutting things short here.
It's not really cutting things short. We've been on for an hour, and it used to be 30 minutes.
But it's when there's people interacting, I want to interact. I feel like it's only fair. Y'all are hanging out with us. I want to hang out with you. All right, we're going to wrap things up here. So that's our show. Next week, I think we're open on what the topic's going to be. We have some suggestions have been given to us. So we've done Bard and GM prep. Someone wanted to talk about Shadowdark, and I'm sorry, Shadowdark Dark Sun. That's a possibility, but Cooper can't really interact with on that. So maybe we'll leave it open. If there's something you all want to hear about, let us know. Let me know soon. I usually put things. It was Ryan about Dark Sun. The thing is, Cooper can't talk about that. So I've already hit Cooper with one show tonight Cooper can't talk about because GM prep. He's not a GM. So maybe something we can both work on. But I have a list of things that are future things that is on my list of things. Of course, we could also talk about Halloween stuff. Maybe we'll do that. Like Shadowdark Halloween.
Shadowween.
Let's not use that. Okay.
Can you make it Shadowween because it's really corny?
Oh, magic items. Oh my gosh, we're adding that as a future one too. Magic item generation. How what?
We can talk about the Dragon Kill crossbow.
You know what we can do?
I tell you what. The magic item I used.
I got an idea. Twice. So next week would be the 20th, right? So we'll say that on 10/20, we're going to do this now. We're like generating this live. So on 10/20,
the 30, because Halloween is on a Thursday.
That's the day I get back from.
Halloween's on a Thursday? That sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. On the 20th, that's the day I'm running the game at the Runehammer store. We'll do magic item generation. I'm going to give credit to where it's due.
Thursday. Thursday's like the weirdest day of the week.
And then on 10/27, we will do Shadowdark Halloween.
Shadowween.
We're just designing this on the fly. Yeah, I think that's awesome. We'll go. We can design a magic item at the table with people. We can do it collaboratively.
We're gonna demonstration.
Yeah, those are great, and I think so we have the next two. Magic Item Generation on 10/20 and Shadowdark Halloween on 10/27. All right, we're going to wrap up here. So that's the show. Upcoming events and cons, nothing we can really broadcast. Our games are still full. Obviously, as we hit December, we'll start thinking about Gen Con for next year. Crowdfunding projects. So if you're still hanging on, William Murakami Brundage's Laboratory of the Homunculord, it is linked below, is in Kickstarter. William has written, and we own Rats of Olgal, Pits of Brune, Woeful Barrows, and Other Places. I have used bits of Pits of Brune in my Shadowdark Dark Sun game. So, and I have a whole quest line for Rats of Olgal that I'm thinking of using in the future at a future campaign. So the link to the Kickstarter for Laboratory of the Homunculord is below. So make sure you check that out. And thank you for joining. So are we prepared to do the deed here? And we're gonna like put this thing out of its misery. So
Idea.
Sure. Draw your blade for this week's goat like assassination. All right. So until next time, make sure you tip your bard, tip the wandering merchant, and we're off to sacrifice a goat to Shun the Vile. You are sacrificing him now. Like look at this. He's like you just did it. We're not off to do anything. You just live sacrificed a goat.
I do that every day.
Oh, okay. I don't pay attention. Good night, everyone.